Hi guys, Romans here and welcome to another music review. I review every album from a viewpoint of a musician, as I am a singer, songwriter and a bass player for my own group Jakobay, and more than 3 years ago we released our debut album called Pursuits in Life. What makes it unique is that it's a heavy prog rock without guitars. Instead you have drums, bass, saxophone and keyboards. You can check out all of our music videos on my YouTube channel.
Getting beyond the saving key, complete surrenders. Avoid it far before it's too late. You must never give in to seductive voice. This is the easiest choice. You need to find a way to oppose and let her go, let her go.
And in the description of all these videos you will find all the information about where is the record available. It's available on all digital platforms like Spotify, Tidal, Deezer, iTunes, Amazon, Bandcamp, but also in this digipack version of a CD with a very beautifully illustrated 20 pages long booklet. So in case you want one, all you need to do is contact me via an email, on Facebook or on Instagram, or you can get one through Bandcamp as well. And today I'm going to review the new album from Mastodon, Hushed and Grim.
Music review. Music review.
Mastodon don't need really any introduction. They're a very successful and a very popular band. Personally, I'm not a big fan of their first two albums, especially their second album, Leviathan, is considered to be a modern metal classic, basically since like early 2000s. But the first two albums are really just noise for me. It's not very graspable. I really like Blood Mountain and Hunter. Both of these albums are fantastic, but especially Crack the Sky, that's like one of the best albums in the genre. It's just an absolute masterpiece. Their previous two albums are quite good. I'm not really that familiar with them anymore. One thing I want to mention is that their previous album, which actually came out 4.5 years ago, so that's a long time, Emperor of Sand, was actually the very first review I made on my YouTube channel. So this kind of makes for a historic moment almost. And if you want to have some fun, check out that review, because when it comes to the production, it's really bad. But on the other hand, when it comes to my talking and analyzing, that sucks too. In today's era of TikTok and Instagram and generally just 1 minute long videos, which are the current rage, and where it really reflects the short attention span of people, Mastodon are kind of really trying to test this with releasing a double album. So kind of a bold move. But anyway, this album came out like a week ago. As of now, I've heard it 8 times. So there's a lot of music to talk about, so let's dive right into the review. The first disc opens with Pain with an Anchor, which has their typical atmosphere. I like that they have their own take on prog rock. And at this point, they're really more of a prog rock band rather than metal. There are very few metal moments actually on this record. And I really love this track, even though I would say I prefer the verses actually. The Crux is a punchier track. The verses are again very heavy, but just so melodic. The screaming chorus is somewhat reminiscent of the older Mastodon, and I just love the atmosphere. It's so immersive, and I would say that this album had a perfect timing because it's just an ideal soundtrack for autumn. I really love that proggy riff in Sickle and Peace. There is quite a contrast here because we've got very atmospheric verses and a very heavy and punchy chorus. More Than I Could Chew is another song that's just very atmospheric, but at the same time heavy and melodic. And I think that this is one of the things that really makes them very unique. The whole atmosphere is kind of familiar. You kind of feel like, yeah, I've heard it somewhere before outside of Mastodon's discography. But on the other hand, it's almost impossible to really think of anything else. towards the end, this track almost gets into like a post-rock / shoegaze territory. The Beast is actually the first time we get to hear Brent Hinds on vocals, and I think that he's kind of underused on this album because we hear him only twice, and actually one of the things that really I think that the thing that makes Mastodon stand apart is just that they basically have 3 singers in the band, and they're all very different. Troy Sanders, who is still like the lead singer in the band, and he plays the bass, he's got a very throaty, very ballsy voice. The drummer, Brent Daler, he's much more of a high-pitched vocalist. He can reach the higher notes, and his voice is just generally perfect for choruses. And well, Brent Hinds, he has this kind of a nasal, very kind of grounded, very strange sounding voice, but in a best way possible. And I just love his sort of a lazy performance. And even this track, when it starts, it has a very chilling, almost summer vibes. The middle of the track is, however, more reminiscent of what we could hear so far on the album, so like that atmospheric, heavier prog. Skeleton of Splendor is a slower and a more emotional track, and I especially love that keyboard solo that totally brings Pink Floyd, especially Welcome to the Machine, to mind, and it's just such a beautiful retro moment. Tear Drinker is a logical single because it's just so catchy. Their voices are amazing. I actually wouldn't mind if they made their vocals kind of like the focal point of their music. We also get a bass / synthy solo here, which again makes for a very beautiful addition. The final track on CD1 is Pushing the Tides, which starts like something from Leviathan or Blood Mountain actually, but it's much more melodic in terms of singing and melody, and again, it's just such a catchy track. Peace and Tranquility starts off the second album pretty heavily, but then it kind of transforms into what we could hear so far, so that very moody prog rock. And this is actually the second and the last time we gotta hear Brent Hinds on vocals. Dagger is a very interesting track. It's got an amazing atmosphere that would fit, for example, the movie Dune. And especially in the middle, we've got this like very, very kind of a cinematic soundtrack-ish part. And it's just not something typical for Mastodon. Another surprise comes in the form of a track, Had It All, which is essentially a ballad. And Mastodon were many things, but I never really considered them to be a band having ballads, because I don't really think they had any so far. And it's just, you know, I really like this track. It's got very nice and gentle melody. I really love the mood it puts you in. However, when the solo part comes in, it kind of takes you out of it. And they seem to do this quite often on this record, that they have some sort of an atmosphere going on. They're kind of building it up. And then suddenly here comes a part that totally takes you out of it. It's totally different. And I generally don't like these distracting moments, because for me it just disrupts the atmosphere way too much. But considering that this is a double album and there's quite a lot of music going on, I actually don't mind it here, because it sometimes almost like wakes you up and lets you know that, okay, so there's a change, so there's something else going on. Savage Lands is a heavier epic song. The second half of it is, however, much more atmospheric. Gobblers of Drax is an 8.5 minutes long song, so the longest track on the album, and it kind of takes its time to build up, to keep going on, but I especially prefer the second half, which is just so much brighter and much more airy than most of the stuff we could have heard so far. Eyes of Serpents is another awesome proggy track with an excellent melody, and actually I think that the only band I can kind of compare them to in terms of the atmosphere is Opeth since Heritage, but I actually prefer Mastodon. Gigantium is combining alternative rock and post-rock with that strong mid-2000s atmosphere, but still with a very strong Mastodon stamp all over it. It's a very lyrical ending of the album. To sum up, I was blown away by this album. I actually think that this may be their second best album since Crack the Sky, and I think that says it all because their discography is generally very strong, but I was just really blown away by this album. I will be honest, I was a bit scared because it's a double album, so there's a lot of music, but I don't really think any minute or any second is wasted here. This album is just really, really great. If you like this review and if you like the videos I'm making, consider supporting me by purchasing my debut album Persons in Life, because I include audio samples in my reviews and thus making them the most informative and entertaining to watch. I usually run a risk of getting a copyright claim, meaning that I won't be able to monetize my videos and whatever money the video earns goes to the author of the audio samples. I have no problems with that, as these bands and performers and artists, they deserve all the money they can get, but these videos are extremely time consuming for me, so the best and the only way how you can support me is by buying my debut album. The second album is actually on the way, and if you like Mastodon, who knows, you may find this music pretty interesting as well. Have you heard this album already? If you have, you can let me know in the comment section below whether you agreed or disagreed with me. If you are a Mastodon fan, you can let me know how well do you think it compares to their previous albums, maybe which one is your favorite one. You can follow me on Facebook or on Instagram, you can find links to both in the description of this video below. Also, if you like this review, don't forget to like, to share, to subscribe. You can check out my own original music, my live performances, my very popular Worst to Best series, and quite a lot of other reviews and series as well. Thanks a lot for watching.